Today, superhero films. What's the deal with these things? Everyone's talking about them. Nobody likes them. Everyone hates them. Kevin Feige killed my dad and fucked my wife. Hopefully I can read the names of these movies without... I'll get through it. We're talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, the newest animated Tweedles film, brought to us by our good friend Seth Rogen, and Blue Beetle, the newest box office disappointment from DC and Warner Brothers. But yeah, I am your wicked game master, Connor Lloyd Cruz, and unfortunately, not like always, the Joey Chestnut of talking about movies, Edwin Gomez, is not here today. He's taking a huge shit right now and was unable to make it. But we have returning. I'm throwing it to you.
Oh, hey! I've I can't speak. I've had so many opportunities to have an intro that's thought through, like crafted, and
Yeah, I made a new one, kind of.
I know. But hey guys, it's Daniel.
It's not fair. You're swimming in grilled cheeses. I'm just in the mountains. You're in a much better position.
You look like you're an overlord of good music taste.
It's fair, but you have but you have grilled cheese. There's nothing really better.
But
what's up, guys?
It's Brian.
It's Brian.
It's Brian. And
hey, what's going on, guys? It's Scott. I'm just hanging out in this little shack of mine.
I am like tradition on my streams lately. I got a bottle of rosé, the same rosé I had last week for Mr. William Friedkin. Now I'm doing it for no reason because I'm starting to become an alcoholic in my 30s. But I'm gonna
That's a character arc.
I'm gonna get this puppy started. Yeah,
it's a good classy alcoholism. Like you went to like wine where you're like, no, I can do Trader Joe's as this hobby and just enjoy the wine. You're not like straight going to handles of vodka at this point. So you're good, man.
It's true.
Like if in 10 years you start the opening and it's like, look, I had that handle right there. Maybe it's a conversation. You're good though.
You're going to classy alcoholism.
If you're home enjoying it, it's no worse. I'm having a little mini can of Dr. Pepper. Sponsored.
Here's that great material I was telling you to save.
This is the material everyone's waiting for. I do just want to take a moment. These mini cans are the best sized thing to happen. I think you pay more for less in the end if you buy like a 6-pack.
Yep.
But it's the amount of soda that I want at any given time when I'm home. This doesn't apply at the movies. At the movies, I'm chugging 64 ounces.
Yeah.
I don't know what comes over me, but I can just drink at a theater.
Give me that soda pop.
That's kind of like that's probably like a different issue.
That's my impression of Daniel at the movies.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Marina Sakamoto and her band Shunken for the use of their song Curse off of the EP She Nods for our opening. Yeah, we should
thank Dr. Pepper. They're not Coke, they're not Pepsi. They're their own thing. They can actually be in either. You can get them no matter what you carry, which is great. They're the equalizer because if you're like a Pepsi establishment, you might still have Dr. Pepper, and so there's always going to be something to drink for the Sody Pop boys and girls.
I went themed with my backgrounds this week. I got the cityscapes from these movies.
Big Apple.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Who wants to summarize what the movie's about without giving away big spoilers?
I can do it.
Do it.
This interpretation of the Turtles is about a bunch of a freak accident that leads to the creation of these mutant turtles and their papa, who's a rat, and this interpretation has them as very sheltered boys with the idea of a dad who's experienced negative things from the human world, and so they start to branch out into the human world to become the heroes they've always wanted to be.
Yeah,
that's good.
And
there you go,
bad guy.
Yeah, there's a eventually there's kind of a narrative thing where they think they'll never be accepted, and then they meet these other mutants, which sort of become the bad guys, specifically Ice Cube as Superfly, a giant mutated fly, and in
interesting ways though. I think that they're bad guys in ways where you're like, but they're bad in the context of being like antagonist, I guess, but like some of their concepts are.
I see where they're coming
from.
World
that hates them. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's also probably notable. I feel like this is the first like time I've ever seen the Turtles portrayed as like meaningfully teenage.
Totally.
At least in
why
like
did
a
every
major
other
sense.
interpretation never lean into that? They're always.
I've always said adults. They always seem to be like in their like 20s.
Yeah.
And like always cast it up. Like in the last one, I believe Johnny Knoxville was Leonardo. Where it's like, would Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles better get a guy in his like late 40s to voice one of them?
They were more. They were less like real teens and more like Saved by the Bell teens. And that doesn't fly as much anymore. I think is part of it for sure.
Right.
And also part of it, I think, though, is like, I mean, it was always for like kids, like
absolutely,
even like the show. And so, like when I watched it, I was 6. I was like, oh, that's what teenagers were.
Yeah.
I thought teenagers was going to be dope, like a lot of pizza and some crime fighting. Were you guys fans of like the show or the live action stuff from the 90s?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I was so obsessed. I was 7 years old when it came out, so it was like the prime target audience. Like toys, the merchandising, everything with that cartoon animation.
Same.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that movie came out in 1990. It's a vivid theater memory of like rainy night, so oversold, tiny little theater where people are sitting in the aisles because it was still that big of a deal. It was so prime for that. And I mean, and that's why the funny thing watching this, I wasn't mad. Like one of the fun things that I was reading on Reddit and all the things, the people yelling about how different of a take it was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I was not mad at any of that. Like it was interesting to see a completely different take because it was like even, the idea of Splinter not being this Japanese crazy warrior soldier, the lore behind him in these other iterations are so intense. This is nothing more than like, this world's scary as fuck. I'm going to watch some Bruce Lee, learn to defend myself, and maybe it'll pass it along. There wasn't this intention of this hierarchy of what it became.
Yeah. Or got kind of convoluted, and this is sort of like a soft thing that makes it like sort of exists in reality is not fair, but like exists as like a concept of like he just took in modern things to do. And
even the villains, it's not like there were any nobody was established as like Rocksteady and Bebop are like known as like two big villains.
Yeah.
They were everybody's still in like the question mark phase of where they're going to take their next career move.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fun to just be in this little like
that's the
more
thing.
Of a lighthearted world.
Honestly, like, I guess we're getting kind of into spoilers a little bit, but like for the sequel, if they bring Shredder into it, like Bebop and Rocksteady could still be like work for him. There's no reason
that is the minorest of spoilers that they tease Shredder.
right.
Yeah. I guess believe it or not.
It's like it wasn't used already.
I was surprised how many villains like they used in like I thought it was cool. Like, cause I guess when were they going to get to the Leatherhead movie? Otherwise, it just seems like. But on the other hand, I was like, oh wow, they're like, is that it? And
it's fun to introduce them now because if this becomes which I think it did pretty well and was well received. If it becomes a series, you can like play with the dynamics of these people because I think them and the Turtles are all the characters. Like I feel like the old cartoons, I was a big fan of them, but they're all sort of like have a stereotype of each one. That personality trait, and I feel like this one's more about them having like a whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I was thinking of the 4 Turtles, Michelangelo probably got like the least amount in this one, and that's because
Right.
like he's usually the fun one.
Yeah.
But they were
Right.
all kind of the fun one. So it left less like, well, if they're all kind of like Michelangelo, it made Michelangelo a little less distinct. And I really liked how they handled Donatello.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he's always been my favorite turtle, and like he was kind of an afterthought in the last one. And then that happens a few times I've found where like he's the smart one and he just kind of comes in at the end with an invention. But in this one, I really like that like he was like still fun and like geeky and like I guess he was more geeky.
I loved his voice. I loved how high pitched his voice was perfect.
Oh, totally.
I love the fact that his voice was the highest pitch, but he also wasn't the shortest. That Mikey was the shortest also.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Also, it's fun to
the
see them
perfect for
grow.
now too, because like modern culture is like all the things that Donatello is sort of a joke about, and the old ones is now like super popular. So it makes sense that he would have a different personality if he were brought up now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I just think it's fun to see them at this place where they haven't really come into their own yet. It's fun to just take the time and let's just enjoy walking through it. Like I feel like a lot of this stuff we're so busy to rush to like the end, to getting to something that like it's fun to sometimes just relish it where we're at with it, which was what was fun about it.
Yeah, I loved it. I really liked it a lot. I mean, I can always tell when I'm watching movies during a year, like, oh, at the end of this year, this will be a movie I'm thinking about as like one of my favorites, and I think this is definitely that. It probably has like a slow start, and I think there's probably like, I think you could like the needle drops take it down by like 10 to 15%. There's a couple like the Mr. Lonely one. I was like, all right. But
they were definitely a couple that wandered,
But that's very nitpicky, and so that goes to my point. And I had like a fucking awful person sitting next to me that was distracting me the whole time. So the fact that I like it as much, it's really good. I expected to like it. I don't think I expected to quite like it as much as I did, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually went to the Grove, the Americana to go see it because that was the only theater that was playing it on Dolby.
Nice.
And it sounded really great. And so
I wish I had done that because that sound absolutely is amazing.
Yeah. The score is amazing. And I dug most of the
90s needle drops.
It's definitely in a world where like Black Adam just came out and the Super Mario Brothers movie just came out. It's definitely a billion times better than those. 100%.
Sure.
It's
also it felt very 90s. It felt like a 90s kid, a 90s kid who grew up watching these made this movie.
That's what stuck out to me is that it's like this. It was less. It's nostalgic, but not in like a. It's like calculated, where I think it's targeted at kids. Teenagers are gonna, I think, have a really good time with it, and 20-somethings are going to think it's really funny and very entertaining, and then like the 30, like the millennial era that like grew up with this, I think are gonna like, it's like sort of it's like for kids, but also it's just like, it seems like a wink to.
No, I'd say it's definitely like for them.
Walking a weird line. Like there's an old boy reference.
Well, because it does it in a way that's not quite as like, all right, we're going to throw like what we just did with The Flash with like, let's just throw, Michael Keaton Batman. Like just everything's so the way you're doing it. We're, again, having the feel of the 90s music of these things. It's enough to make a nod to the feeling of it all, but without redoing it.
Well, because that's sort of like the genius of like them making them more teenagers, and it feels like it's sort of like, okay, we're doing our own interpretation of it now, which I think is great because honestly, like especially like the 90s cartoon, which is like the thing I mostly watched. I didn't read too many of the comic books. Like I know there's people who like are really, really into Turtles.
No, same.
Yeah. I fell out pretty quickly, but like you go back and watch those 90s cartoons, they're not very deep, and they're not, it's not like the lore is that big and stuff. And like, because I remember when the Michael Bay movies came out and Megan Fox got cast as April O'Neil, and people were like, oh, that's terrible casting, because that's not who April is. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't actually know like who, like who April is, and like what that you know what I mean, like what actress
100%.
would be the right character for April, because and so I thought actually Megan Fox was fine in the universe that Michael Bay created. It's like, yeah, that seems like the right April O'Neil for this universe. And I actually liked her in that movie. But I really liked their version of April in this one. I thought that it was it's smart, and it kept her a reporter, and like she did Channel 6 News stuff, but it also kept her younger.
It's also she's played by Ayo Adebiri from like The Bear, and she was in Theater Camp and Shithouse.
She had a Black Mirror episode too.
Oh, really?
Like she had that main Black Mirror episode, the one that everybody talked about, that was like the AI episode. She had like I watched it like right after The Bear, and it was like this crazy, like she is literally everywhere.
Yeah, she's about to be in Bottoms. It's opening up.
Hell yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Killing it. Yeah, she was great. I thought that's actually like the cast. I was watching a behind the scenes thing that instead of having everyone record stuff differently, they had all of the turtle stuff done in the same room, so that there was chemistry. And I think it shows. Like I think you feel that dynamic.
Definitely.
100%.
I think everybody had a lot of fun. You could tell in the writing of it. Seth and crew had a lot of fun. The cast obviously had a fun. I mean, even that score. I mean, Trent and Atticus it was so much fun. Like everything they've done there's a lot of real purpose and intent to the way they're composing for the particular project, where this just felt like, let's fuck around in the studio with sounds we love and just go nuts. And
they were a late edition too. Wasn't it only announced like right before summer? So I imagine they must have come with like, we have an idea.
I mean, it's literally like, hey, here's our analog synth sound banks. We're gonna have fun, and it's just great to let them to hear something like that where it can be that loose, but still so good.
Yeah. And I really loved the animation.
Yeah.
I loved it was, I think Anne put it best, our friend Anne, because I was saying like a lot of people said it was inspired by Spider-Verse, which obviously it was, but it didn't like look like that same type of animation. Anne said, yeah, it was emboldened by Spider-Verse. I was like, yeah, I think that's perfect. Like
that's a great way to put it. I feel like this is the best case scenario of
exactly
sort of Spider-Verse unlocking the possibilities of what you can do.
It's like for
make this so unique.
It's like Broken Clock is right twice a day. The studios actually learned the right lesson from this one, which is to let you do like weird animation styles on movies. Because I didn't see it, but I heard Puss in Boots had some more interesting ways it used animation.
Really,
like a really good movie that's made better by just people that clearly got to focus into some interesting artistic things that computer animation allows.
Yeah, it seems like we kind of were just every studio was trying to look like Pixar for the last 20 years, at least.
Now, what is Pixar trying to look like? Because they're on a weird path with theirs.
I think they're kind of figuring their shit out. And in the meantime, it's like, okay, well, that doesn't like. I think now that Pixar isn't like the king of animation, or certainly not the zeitgeist of animation, that's like, okay, well, now we can kind of start doing our own thing. And
it feels like animation style and design is kind of like at the same place that video game graphics are sort of at, where we've reached a point where like who really gives a shit how realistic it looks. It starts to become more about like artistic style and like attempt and like what they're doing with it.
What informs the story rather than it just need to be like the most incredible looking thing.
It
can be just with, I mean, not in terms of realism versus like what you want to use in the art.
Well, also it's like, it's an animated movie. Why are we restricting ourselves to such a
it makes sense that Pixar was doing this because it's like they wanted to strive, but probably like 5 to 10 years ago I think you hit like a point in the bell curve. I don't know what the graph is, but there's like a graph, somebody's making a graph, and Pixar hit it like 5 to 10 years ago, the point in the bell curve where the more realism started to become like diminished returns, I think.
It was like The Good Dinosaur, where all the environments were photorealistic and the characters were animated, and it was really cool, but then the movie was like off. I think it's very cool that that I sort of assumed Spider-Verse would spawn similar superhero dynamics movies, like animated superhero, like maybe Marvel stuff. So it's cool that a different brand of things being Puss in Boots and this took off with it too, that it's going to be kind of a spread thing versus just kind of a Sony's house style.
I don't know if you guys have seen the Mitchells versus the Machines. It's from the same director who did this. It's fantastic. I really, really loved it. And it has a similar style, like in that, like, it's not, it mostly looks traditional, but there's definitely, like, the main character is a filmmaker, so we also see things through her eyes and stuff. So, like, things pop out throughout in a very unique style. And, like, I feel like that was, like, his training ground to do something as unique looking as this, which really, really looks great. And so I would definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, it got dropped on Netflix during the pandemic and kind of
it was
definitely.
Remember that was actually the animation. They did they got to do their premiere at it because of the pandemic. They didn't get to have a proper theater release. Well, that's right. I remember that being a big one.
It killed in a theater.
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen it in a theater. I mean, we did it outside at our place, and there are a few people there, so like I got to see it with a group of people. But yeah, it would have killed in like. Seeing that on IMAX, that would have been amazing.
Oh yeah.
And this one was really funny too. That's more than anything what I was impressed with. It was like, I guess I didn't expect it to, like, I figured there'd be jokes because there was like Seth Rogen, but it's like, oh, this is like a legit comedy. It's real funny. And I liked it. And Ice Cube was hysterical.
Ice Cube's hysterical.
Like, he really kills it.
Also,
when he's given it, he's so, his comedy roles where he's at 100% are so funny.
Yeah,
his timing is just killer.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's really funny in it too, as Mondo Gecko.
Yeah. I liked it.
I want to be his buddy.
Yeah.
100%.
He's
absolutely.
He seems like the coolest, chillest dude. It makes sense that him and Mikey became friends in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
Background
yeah,
dynamic.
Me too. I hope they're hanging out in the sequel for whatever reason. I thought it was a great introduction to the world. And now, again, Shredder come in. I'd love to see what they do with Shredder and like the Technodrome and Crane and all that stuff. Like,
totally.
Yeah. I'm down. I don't know any of this stuff. I was okay. I'm a little younger, so I was like not quite at the right age for Turtles. Like I knew about it. And I know I know a dozen or so of the characters, but once you start getting past like Bebop and Rocksteady, I'm like,
okay,
You're out,
I hear you. No, I knew like all these, and
Casey Jones.
I know Casey Jones.
Casey.
I know Casey.
Yeah.
I know Krang. Right. Bebop, Rocksteady, Shredder.
I think the video games were my real obsession, and then I loved the movies, and then I watched some of the TV stuff.
Okay.
Except I always hated the third movie. I have no idea why. I've never rewatched it.
It just never felt right.
Time?
Yeah. No, I couldn't tell you why. I had some.
I'm with you. I had that trio box set, and I never opened up that.
I almost only watched 2 because I loved the opening of 2 when they have the fight in the mall.
Absolutely.
Just watch that a bunch.
No, definitely growing up, 2 was like as a child. 2 was the perfect one.
I remember seeing like magazines of like screenshots. Like it was that big of a thing. It'd be like,
they can't use weapons in the second one, or they barely, because in the first one, I remember I was pretty young. It was like 1990, so and I begged my mom. There's no way I could miss the Turtles movie. But like that movie was a little darker than It was more based on the original comic book than the actual 90s TV show. And like I remember this part where like I was chasing Casey Jones, and he's like he loses him, and he just yells out like "Damn!" And my mom was just like, "Oh my goodness!" And, like, he was very upset that like.
We kind of had that back-to-back summer of the darker stuff, though, because we had, like, Batman 89, which was, everybody was like, what is this? And then, like, right away, the 90.
Well.
Just blew Scott's mind out.
Sorry, you're back.
For a second, Scott. Yeah.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You're good now, but we lost your last thought.
Oh, I was just like Brian was talking about, like we had the back-to-back years of dark stuff, but I was like I was too young to see
Yeah.
Batman. Like that was not even an option.
Yeah.
I begged to see Batman Returns, and that like I lost that battle. But then by the time the third one came out, it had Jim Carrey in it, and I was such a huge Jim Carrey fan, and I was old enough that I was like, "There's no way I was missing this Batman."
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, but I do remember like that first Turtle movie was darker than people, and that's why the second one is more kid friendly. I guess they didn't have the rights to Bebop and Rocksteady. That's why we have that like Kirkland Bebop and Rocksteady. Like I forgot what the characters were, but like, and then like Vanilla Ice raps in it, and like it's a lot more. It's brighter. It's a lot just brighter. And then I like the third one just because I like turtles, but that's when they go back in time. That's the comic book, and they. That I remember like on the way home asking my mom about like time like paradoxes of like what if that character that they saved that kid's life, but what if he was supposed to die? What if that meant like you could I realized like, oh, my mom just does not care.
Yeah.
she was just driving me. She's
just thinking about like the mortgage and
exactly. Oh, life is terrible right now, but it's fine. I'm glad you're thinking about that.
Yeah, she took me to a movie. That's all.
I think about that. My dad's not a huge movie person, and I remember my vivid memories of the movies he took me to were like the Matrix and the Pokemon movies around the same time. And he always refers to, he's like, yeah, your mom, and my dad is from Oklahoma and has a very deep Southern accent and talks really slow. And so he'll say, well, your mom made me take you to that movie with the yellow mouse that cries. Or the yellow rat that cries. He like remembers the end of Pokemon, the first movie. And then he quit taking me to movies. And he's like, and then we had to go see the other. He's like, I think there were another one or two of them. And he goes, I don't remember them because I was just waiting for them to be over. And I was like, man,
amazing.
I didn't know that in the moment, which was really good. Good dad points. I think about the yellow rat comment a lot.
My dad, whose birthday it is today, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Connor's dad.
He gladly took me to those three movies, and he actually really liked the second and third one. Or he kind of liked the third one. But
you got that. You're able to do that with your like. I know, like I don't watch. I've never watched with mine, but like I'll talk about a movie with my dad. And I at one point I was talking about Suspiria, and I think it was around the remake coming out. But he won't remember the name Suspiria, and he'll always just call it Sarsaparilla. Yeah, funny dad thing. He's like, it's that Sarsaparilla movie, and you're like, that's the one. I love those witches in Sarsaparilla.
I look forward to going home. My dad's a movie talker, so I can't watch something for the first time with him. But I love to live exit. What do you call it now? Live tweet it with him because he just talks the whole movie, and it's so rarely like we watched Die Hard for Christmas one year. And he spent a long time talking about how illogical it would be to have air conditioning vents that large. You would waste so much energy in cooling the facility, and it really just breaks your spirit.
Yeah, my parents always point out when a baby is like too old for how old the baby is supposed to be. I'm always like, I don't care.
You're so far beyond that as an idea, and they're just fixated.
Yeah. And Bobby in the chat says the yellow rat who cries is also what people call me. But yeah, Daniel, you still got to leave in half an hour, right?
Yeah, we can. I'll monitor time. I'll let you know if I gotta jump ship.
Well, I was thinking about, because this is the only one that Edwin has seen. Let's call Edwin and see if he wants to express his opinion on Toidles himself and play the game with us. Because then we could do the game now. Because I think, because then we could end with talking about.
That makes sense. Yeah, I get. Yeah,
I like it.
Let me give Edwin.
Daniel has 300 grilled cheeses to deliver. You're just ready to deliver.
Grilled cheese wouldn't hold up too well, delivery-wise.
No, I don't think so. Those trucks, I'm not sure how those trucks lasted that long with the grilled cheese truck. Delivery. They actually have delivery places of them here I've seen. But you're right, that can't be good.
Okay. All right. Well, you know
does
what?
Edwin have like a really normal voicemail?
I think he does. I wanted to end it quickly in case the number was said. I didn't want to dox him.
Hi.
Yeah. I do have a quote. I have a quote from him on Tweedles. He was sending this from the lab where he's being diagnosed with a new form of super diarrhea. But Edwin says that Mutant Mayhem was a masterpiece, and it is better than Spider-Verse, and there's no backstabbing or a bullshit cliffhanger. Which, to be honest, I know that he thought that. He's being Edwin about it. I like Spider-Verse more, but I get it, because this doesn't have like an issue like that where, you know, if you were going into Spider-Verse not knowing, you know. But I also
I would have been mad. I would have been mad too. I genuinely would have been mad. Like, I'm glad.
Did he not know?
I don't think he knew.
I think he was part of the. I think he went like opening night or something before anybody had really talked about it, or it was the thing. I don't know.
It was always known. This is not
new
information.
Okay.
I mean,
they were marketing it as part one for a while, and then they changed it where the third one's not going to be called.
It's beyond Spider-Verse.
But the last chunk of advertising, they stopped calling it part one, which I think after that was negatively received, just for that information. Mission Impossible doubled down, and Dune doubled down on making sure that part one and part two are like in big text.
Solid, yeah.
Dune didn't do that for when it premiered. Yeah,
because I saw one in theaters and people booed when part one came up. At least it was at the beginning of the movie versus but it's very funny.
Like, that's a pretty bold thing not to drop until your movie. Until people have paid to see your movie.
But on topic, but off topic, I thought Spider-Verse, at least, the way that it frames the movie being mostly about Gwen's arc, has a complete arc. Even though there's context to build a bigger story. And so I still felt satisfied in a way that Dune, I felt like I had just stopped halfway.
I agree, though I also think that I don't know. It to me, it felt almost like Spider-Verse. It just was missing its third act, less so there's a whole other movie here. And also I think structurally, the Gwen stuff is good, but the problem is you get that emotional climax, and then there's 15 minutes of the movie left. And I think on a structural level, they probably should have rejiggered some of those scenes at the end. And so
agreed.
I would have rejiggered it so the scene with her and her dad is almost the last scene, instead of having all of that other stuff. And then maybe do the thing where I guess you don't get the Silence of the Lamb things where they think they're in the same place but they're not. But but
there's just a lot of extra they do, though, that doesn't really need to be really done. Like the whole flesh out of what that other world is doesn't really need to be done.
They give us 5 cool cliffhangers in a row, and it's any of these. But I want to say, Croc has said in the comments, Mutant Mayhem is amazing, best TMNT movie yet. And then you guys look like Punnett.
I agree.
You guys look like Punnett Square. No offense. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna.
What does that mean?
Punnett Square.
Punnett.
Punnett Square.
We do not.
I mean, if you don't have the video on, and you see a stream, and it's 4 people are going to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in depth on a podcast, you could probably paint a picture of the 4 of us.
Yeah, I feel like
respectfully
exactly like what you think we would look like.
And then Bobby said something that I don't understand. But yeah, let's move on. Let's skip ahead, because I know you gotta go a little earlier, or well, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about Blue Beetle. Do you guys just want to talk about Blue Beetle real quick?
I don't have a ton to talk about Blue Beetle either.
Yeah, me neither.
It's fine.
I'll change my background to beautiful Palmyra City. Thematic. Who wants to summarize Blue Beetle?
Iron Man, but Latino and Beetle powers.
It's one part Spider-Man, one part Iron Man, one part Venom, one part Ant-Man.
and a whole lot of family,
and equal parts Latino, Mexican family and culture.
yeah.
And I mean, I liked it more than I thought I would, to be honest. It's not like...
Me too.
Same,
I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, like, if you want to go see the movie Blue Beetle, go see it. I don't know if I'd like recommend anybody who's like, I don't know if I'm into that sort of thing. Like, okay, it's not going to like change your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty run-of-the-mill superhero movie. But as far as run-of-the-mill superhero movies go, it was a lot of fun.
It's good, yeah.
I liked
it's
the
worth
character.
Going to see.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. I had a fun time. It was supposed to go to Max, where I probably never would have watched it. Totally. I don't think I would have been like, I guess I'll. But I saw it instead at IMAX with you guys, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
right.
And
it's not a high bar, but it's definitely one of the better of the modern DC films. It's certainly the best since Gunn's Suicide Squad. And it's in my opinion one of like the 5 or so of them that I would say like is actually worth checking out.
And supposedly Gunn says that like the character's gonna be around for his stuff.
That'd be cool. I'm down. I like this cast.
I mean, it makes sense.
The cast and like the focus on their culture and family is like by far the best part of the movie.
Because it feels real. It feels authentic. It doesn't feel like we're just, ticking boxes, which was nice about it. That's why it was all really efficiently done.
I mean, this isn't a joke. I wish I was making this up, but as I was leaving the theater, I passed by a Latino dude, and I heard him say, "This is my Black Panther." And
that's awesome.
It's incredible. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like a bit that I would make up or something, but no, it's legit. And I think I get it. I totally get it. Like, I'm watching it, and it has that feel of that first Black Panther where I'm like, we're all very white here. But like, watching it, you're just like, oh, this is really cool. Like seeing something that explores this other culture. We're not, none of us are insecure, like weirdo conservatives, because to me, I love that kind of shit where like you get to watch something and it's like, what does a superhero movie look like, but with a, like a Mexican family or with...
I think you also just described a Punnett square. I think a Punnett square isn't that the genetic thing you do in biology of like how your traits are related between like your parents?
I think so.
So maybe. We just look like we're 4 versions of... So what we said makes sense. Continue.
I like that. Thank you for circling back on that, actually.
It just came to when...
Croc
kind of brought it to my brain.
Croc says, I went to see Blue Beetle with my Mexican family, which looked exactly the same as the one in the movie. So that was weird. They nailed it.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go.
As someone who hasn't seen it, I think the most interesting thing, because I haven't seen Black Adam or Shazam 2 or The Flash, but the talk of Blue Beetle after it didn't do too hot has made me more interested in seeing it because reactions have been pretty strong. This was relatively interesting and has like some representation that's worthwhile.
I hope it has good word of mouth. I think it will, to be honest, especially comparatively. Yeah. Like, and I think I know the actress who plays Jenny Cord, the love interest / essentially Evangeline Lilly from Ant-Man, but in this movie,
right?
She's like a major Brazilian character, so I think it's supposed to do good. I don't know if it's released there yet, but it's tracking well to do good in Brazil. So she's like a beloved star over there. So
could I ask, does George Lopez ever become Blue Beetle for any amount of time?
No.
I won't be seeing the movie.
He's great though.
He's so good in it though. Yeah. He's really, really good in it.
I just want to see him as superhero. I love that. He haunts
honestly,
my
the amount they give you
dreams.
is not that many steps removed of something, and if in a sequel they could do something, It's,
does he have like the
so
Rhodey moment from Iron Man 1 where he looks at the suit and he's like, next time?
No,
he gets more to do than Rhodey.
He gets in it. Yeah, he's like a guy.
He's in it.
He becomes
he's like the family, the focus of the movie, kind of.
Well, 100%. Yeah. No.
That's the blanket of this movie.
Yeah, I thought one of the coolest parts is that like Blue Beetle gets kidnapped, and then like the family has to save him. And
okay, that's cool.
On the one hand, I thought that like it was great for the family building, but it did when Blue Beetle got a time to shine, but it did like kind of sidetrack the main character for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a lot of emotional stuff happening with the family.
Yeah.
That like
that's
the main
smart.
character
So it almost plays like an ensemble thing.
Yeah.
Very much
That's
so.
cool.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, George Lopez plays, because they basically say that, like, because it's George Lopez is the uncle, and so it's Jaime is the main character, and it's his sister, his parents, his uncle, and his grandma, and the father, the uncle, and the grandma are here illegally without, whatever the term that I'm would most be appropriate to use would be, but when they go up to like the airport, like George Lopez doesn't want to get out of the car because he's like, there's cameras watching everywhere, they're gonna get us at any second now. And he's like super into conspiracy. Like the first time he sees the Blue Beetle shit, he's like, this is CIA shit. He's like
rocking a mullet, like definitely like the big tricked out Tacoma pickup truck, which is funny that it's a Tacoma.
He's also like an inventor, or like really good, like technical stuff. So like that's his, like how he contributes. He can block like the security camera feed for
and the biggest spoiler I give, I think maybe one of my favorite jokes, because in one movie you could see it being like a tired roll your eyes sort of joke. Daniel's in the chat. You could see this being like a really tired sort of joke in a movie, but the grandma ends up being good at like with guns and with like figuring out how to invade the compound. And it's because and it's not just because it's funny that a grandpa, it's specifically that she was involved with like Central American revolutions when
like
she was
actually
younger.
saw some shit.
And
like it's really believable in the Switch too when she goes kind of extra bonkers. It's like not like she's we're forcing, like everything feels
it's not the rapping granny.
Yeah, I definitely know. In the preview, they kind of like hinted that, and I was like, "Oh, so this is gonna have a rapid grandma in it." But no, it plays well because of the emotional beat that the family have. So, like, if we can get into some spoilers, sorry, Daniel.
That's okay.
I thought the bravest thing they did is they kill his father dies in the movie. I knew something was going to happen to that character. When
gotta have the Ben moment.
When they mentioned like he had a heart attack and stuff, he's like, "Oh, I'm fine now" and stuff. And then like he kind of like grabs his heart, like looks away for a second, and he might as well like look at the camera and been like, "Wink."
I kind of got that. Like, I pretty much. I'm not even going to put the spoilers up. We won't go into. Let's not go into like what happens with like the villain stuff at the end. I think that.
Sure.
But yeah, I pretty much early on I was like, okay, well this dude's like 100% eating the dust this movie.
See, I wasn't sure if he was definitely going to die, but like, he's going to end up in the hospital at the very least. But like how that like, oh no, he died, and then also like how it like worked for the plot of like, he was there on crossover to become one with the suit or whatever. Like, I thought that was actually really emotionally strong. Like that was it wasn't just like, for lack of a better term, fridging the character and just like giving him a dead dad to be motivated. Like, it actually like really worked with the main character's journey. And
it made him, leaving him sort of the most, like, he was the most stable. Like everybody else sort of has the quirks and weirdness. And then when you later find out, like, there is that one beat where like George Lopez talks about how, because he was the older brother, he's the one who brought him to the United States from Mexico. And just like that idea of that, which it works so well and it was so effective when you do lose him, which again, it's more of like that efficient. A lot of it is stock, but it was well done in what it was. It was coming for what it was, but it was.
Yeah, I kind of, I was making fun when I said like Marvel or like Iron Man, and like it does follow those beats.
Sure.
But like I think,
right.
For sure.
And, like
it does its own authentic thing, and it could have been bad.
In some ways, the biggest issue with this movie is it's coming out now as opposed to like 10 years ago.
Yep.
Totally.
Because I think if it had come out 10 years ago, and I think if the action and stuff was like a bit better, I think it would have been like a huge hit.
Absolutely.
But I think people now really need stuff like superhero stuff. I mean, this is kind of moving into our overall topic, but people need the superhero stuff to be like great, like to really be crazy about it.
Sure.
But this has seeds of greatness. I'd love to see a sequel,
Yes.
especially under James Gunn, because I imagine, he's going to be able to like help with making, as a producer, getting like the scripts like super, super tight beforehand.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Because I was obviously being a little facetious earlier. Superhero movies are one of my comfort foods when it comes to movies. The other being slashers. But I do also think that like the biggest issue right now, the reason why we're at this place with this bubble, and I mean obviously there's like the capitalist critique, which everybody can understand that thing, but like within capitalism, we need to pull back, focus more on letting people who actually want to tell these stories, and not just like saddling people. Focus on how the resources are being spent, make sure the scripts are tight, make sure that people know what they're doing. That's not like getting reshot to hell. I mean, that's the reason. That's not the reason, but it's one of the reasons why like computer effects look so bad these days is people don't plan stuff out. Because if you watch like James Gunn's last two movies and like the effects in those movies versus like The Flash or something, and it's like night and day. Like this is clearly someone who has planned like this shot versus someone's like and I don't even necessarily blame some of the filmmakers for it.
No, absolutely.
And
it's the pressure on everybody to do the work now, and it's like there's only so many. Everybody can only do what they can do.
They're churning them out.
Absolutely.
And presumably studio execs also being like at the beginning of a production, this is what we want, and then at the end of the production, what is this? And it's like exactly what they wanted, and they want something different now because they're a bunch of fucking morons, dipshit.
And then it
assholes.
turns into this is what we need, and then then you have the pressure, and that's why everybody freaks out. Like everybody worked in Spider-Verse, and then that's why we end up in the situation we're ending up in right now with all that stuff, aiding to everything.
And also, I think like Connor, you're right, where like it being a superhero movie just isn't enough anymore.
Yeah.
And like I think as far as like there's talking about like superhero fatigue, and I don't think it's quite that, but I do know it's left the zeitgeist. It's not the thing, like
you need something like a Guardians 3 or Across the Spider-Verse that I think is able to like pull up
stand out
of that lit.
Yeah, and even I think Guardians 3, like, I mean, it did well and everything, but, like, I think it's, like, time to end it. Like, I think it's going out, like, if like, a fourth one was coming out, I don't know. I could see one coming out in, like, 10 or 15 years and calling it, like, the reunion tour or something like that.
Yeah.
I think
I adored
when Endgame happened.
3,
yeah. Oh, I loved it, too. Yeah, I thought it was great.
And so I am excited. I wonder, to me, the next big thing. Well, one, I think people are still interested in the Elseworlds kind of stuff. So I think, Joker Part 2 will do well. Batman Part 2 will do well. But the most curious thing now, like the biggest development in the next couple of years, is going to be when Superman Legacy hits and like how that does and what that signals. Because if that doesn't do well, then that's probably going to signal like we're gonna be like where we are now with like fantasy films, because there was like a while in the 2000s post Lord of the Rings where there's all sorts of shit, and now it's like every once in a while you get a big fantasy film, it is what it is. Like, obviously, I know a lot of people hate these things, but I love them. I'll watch them.
I'm hoping it's just a readjustment of expectation that these aren't just immediately greenlit as $200 million things.
Yeah, that too.
Like more carefully thought about. I think the fatigue is from the amount and that so often they don't stand out, that they feel like it's sort of a recycled thing.
Absolutely.
In a way that I think people, when someone cares what they're making, it shows and you get something special. So I'm hoping it becomes more of a focus on like, well, let's let people tell some stories, because, Marvel being attached means you have an audience. And maybe that audience isn't as big as before because we've had a slightly negative train last since post Endgame, maybe. And so it's kind of an interesting chance that you're still gonna get an audience. So okay, what does $100 million look like?
I
think, still like a staggering
yeah,
number, but maybe it's gonna bring something more interesting to the table.
I think the best thing James Gunn can do in running DC is taking a lesson from like Barbie and like let filmmakers put their stamp on these superheroes. Because like one thing I felt about the Suicide Squad is I'm thinking like it feels like a very like early 2000s superhero movie, and by that I mean like it feels like a a, a writer director is having their take on these characters as opposed to most of the Marvel films, which very much just want to like be pretty like Marvel is like the archer, and they're not necessarily looking for your take on Daredevil. They want to do their Daredevil.
And the Sam Raimi is a great prime example of seeing that in the Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and I thought I liked Doctor Strange, and I thought Sam Raimi was clearly having fun, but there's a difference between that and his Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right.
And like, and I think the best thing DC could do to distinguish themselves is to give the filmmakers like a chance to be like, this is what their movie looks like. We'll see.
And I know a big issue with Doctor Strange too is they were constantly rewriting it as well.
Yeah.
You can see like a version of that probably was able to like know the script from the beginning. That was probably like a little more solid because you can see some of the like emotional beats.
The second it stands out as being so like there are moments that it's so clearly a Raimi movie. Like I think the highlight scene is the when he, I forgot the concept, when he dream walks to the dead corpse of himself. Like there's a 5-minute chunk that's just so perfectly you're like, yes, this is perfect. That I hope kind of that spirit can remain.
Some kids, like a kid and her mom left during that scene when I saw it opening day when the zombie Doctor Strange showed up, which I was like, Sam Raimi still got it.
How young were the kids?
Do you think, Connor, my biggest issue with like in the concept of fatigue is that I feel like there's so much I have to keep up with and I don't always do that. And so then I feel, I guess it's maybe FOMO is not the right word, but a sort of, I feel excluded from the conversation because I didn't watch it when it was happening, but then I need to watch it because there's going to be things that I missed, but I don't have the motivation to watch it. And so then I feel kind of like I'm trapped in a state. Because I don't think every Marvel release requires the TV stuff, but I think it's sort of built on, it's a better experience if you have watched it. And so I feel like it's a slight trap of
100%
just overwhelmed by stuff, which I think for if you're in it must feel incredible because you just get, there's always something for you to look at, but it's kind of overwhelming to some degree for me at least.
For me, I have so little to look forward to, and so these shows and stuff, I'm cool with it because like it's always just fun. Like I'm cool with it even if it's whether it's something like really good like WandaVision or Hawkeye or whether it's like Secret Invasion and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's something to watch, it's something to watch. And largely speaking, I like most things I see because I'm not like having my balls tortured or something. I'm a free person getting to watch a movie. I can pause it when I want, go to the bathroom. And so, but that's kind of a pretty low bar. I do think they're definitely pulling back from my understanding, and they should. Yeah, they should. Not for people like me, obviously, but I'm a psychopath. But for most people, I think there's like a middle ground. I think they've gone a little too into overdrive because I
feel like we've kind of hit like the 90s of comic, where it's like, where we hit the peak and now people are like, all right, I'm kind of over this. And
because there's some of the stuff they've done is like really good. Like WandaVision's great, I think.
I really like that. Yeah.
I think Loki has been a winner also. I think a lot of these miniseries though probably should have been like movies. I wonder if they had done them as like TV movies, like Disney Plus premieres. Could have been interesting. I think the two specials they did last year were both great.
What was the Guardians and the what else?
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that this Halloween.
It's great. It's really fun. I definitely, but I understand that idea, like, because I do remember back in the day when people are like, well, you gotta see so much to understand what's going on in the movies, and it's like 2 movies a year, like, really, like, you're gonna complain about 2 movies a year, but now it's like, okay, I get it, like, it is, it's more, and if I can't imagine if I had gotten behind at this point, you know what I mean? Like, I've thankfully yet to have anything pressing enough in my life going on that I've fallen behind on anything.
I'm not keeping up with the shows.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not on the shows.
I'll give them the movies, but like, I don't know. When I sit down and watch shows, I am somewhat busy, and so like, just like, okay, I can do this for like 2 hours, like 2 or 3 times a year, but like once a week, I'm actually pretty good.
That's the big issue with it, is a lot of them. Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Secret Invasion, all should have been movies. Like, there's really, structurally, there's nothing about them that makes sense as a television show. Loki has kind of embraced it a little more, and it has like an actual second season, so it makes a little more sense. And then all of the other stuff they've done is actually formatted in a way that it could only be shows, like WandaVision or She-Hulk. But the other things should have been, I don't know, they should just make cheaper movies.
I think too, if you cut down, if you spent a little more time and had maybe it was only 2 releases a year and then 1 or 2 TV shows in between, and they were slightly cheaper things that had a little more time put into them, then they become kind of events again. And I think you would still retain, if finance is all they think about. If you're only putting out 2, but those 2 movies do super well, then maybe the spread can be worthwhile. If these folks,
2 movies, 1 special, and a mini series or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also just don't see it returning quite to where it was.
No,
like, I think Endgame was sort of like, a lot of people were like, okay, I'm good. I've got my Marvel thing. And like,
it's a thing. How do you top? Like, how do you top it? They succeeded.
I can imagine
that no one ever has. I agree that I think there are versions, but like from the perspective of like a franchise, they sort of pulled it off. And to replicate it seems it's hard to grasp. Like, where do you go? How do you make the stakes bigger when I don't think that's the important thing? I think the character stuff's the best version of that.
For sure.
So just bigger stakes won't make a better event. So I think that's the...
You do kind of have to go smaller, I think. Like, I think, and I understand why they're doing the multiverse thing next, but I just think they like rushed into everything too quick. You know what I mean? I think they were like, oh, this is an endless content machine. And, they just started it up. There's no reason why any of these projects couldn't have been great. And I think in a lot of ways, they all have their own, like, some of them have interesting failures, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier diving, like, head first into insane neoliberalism in its last episodes, where they just like redeem the conservative character and they just blow up all the liberal characters and you're like, what? But for the most part, there's nothing stopping any of these things from being as culturally relevant or beloved, other than the fact that people are stupid, but people aren't that stupid. And I'm well versed enough in this world that, like, I can see, like, okay, well, there are people who care about this and who are making this stuff. All of this stuff is being made by people who care in one way or another, but it's still like it's stuff that's being made like under duress, essentially. Under a certain type of financial duress, as opposed to love. Which I think is what elevates like James Gunn's stuff. I think even though I don't like them, I think it's the reason why Zack Snyder's stuff is so beloved by his fans. Even if I think he's a fucking dumbass who wouldn't know what an interesting story was if he was stuck in a fucking paper bag with it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially, with the Snark stuff. I remember when it came out, I wasn't a big fan, but I do remember thinking like, well, it's not like the Marvel stuff. I like that they're attempting to do their own thing. Because like one thing I remember thinking about like Blue Beetle is like it feels very Marvel at this point. Like Warner Brothers and DC is like, I was just gonna do that. It works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're done talking about this, so let's welcome to Connor's Wicked Games. Sponsored by Chris Isaac. Every week, much like Jigsaw, I like to play a little game with everyone on here. And a little dumb movie trivia game I've made up. This week, I have here. I'm going to give you the name, assuming the name doesn't contain what I'm looking for the answer, the year it came out, and the actor. And what I want is I want you to give me the name of the character they're playing. These are all superhero characters. I will also give you more description if people haven't guessed them yet. And I think the way we'll do this is just whoever gets it first gets a point. So whoever gets it first gets the point. So, we're starting off number 1. This is a 2010 film. The name of the film is the name of the character. That
was the quote.
The name of the film is the name of the character, and this character is played by Josh Brolin.
Oh, Jonah Hex.
Scott got it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's Jonah Hex, the Western anti-hero from DC. Let me make a little thing. All right, number 2. I made this one just for Edwin, and he's not here. He's getting his guts sucked out. It's a 1986 film. The name of the film is the name of the character. And this character was voiced by Chip Zien, but portrayed by Ed Gale, Jordan Prentice, Tim Rose, Steve Sleep, Peter Baird, Mary Wells, Lisa Sturz. Any idea? Should I start saying...
Howard the Duck?
That's what I was thinking is Howard the Duck, yeah.
Scott got it.
Yeah, but Scott got that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Howard the Duck. I was about to
say, is Edwin a Howard the Duck lover?
Oh, 100%.
I don't know how else to phrase
it's his favorite Marvel movie.
It makes sense. It makes 100% sense.
The second I started reading this plot, you would have gotten it because it's blank is 27 years old and lives on Duck World. So I think that would have been the dead giveaway. All right, number 3. A 1941 serial. The name of the film is Adventures of Blank. And the actor is Tom Tyler. Though Frank Coughlin Jr. plays this character's alter ego. Any guesses?
41.
For the name of this superhero. All right, I'll start reading the plot. During an archaeological expedition to find the secret of the Scorpion Kingdom in Siam's volcanic Valley of the Tombs, a device of great power, the Golden Scorpion, is discovered, hidden inside a sealed crypt. While examining it, the device's quartz lens are aligned and a powerful energy beam is released, causing an explosion that reveals the crypt. This allows young radio broadcaster and expedition member Billy Batson, who obeyed the warnings on the crypt seals not to enter, to be chosen by the ancient wizard Shazam. Any guesses now?
Shazam of 1941? I realize it went so far back.
It's not Shazam.
What is it? I don't know.
It is Shazam, but it's not Shazam. It's the name that Shazam...
Shazam had another name?
Shazam had a different name. If Anne was here...
Captain Marvel?
Scott got it. Yes. Originally, Shazam was named... Shazam was just the thing that he said.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel was his actual name.
It was actually,
I'll give you guys a little hint. The remaining of these first 3 have all been Marvel DC. These other ones are not.
Okay.
All right, this one, I think you guys are going to maybe be hot on the trigger, so get your trigger fingers ready. It's a 2008 movie named Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, and I'm looking for the name of the character played by Doug Jones.
Abe Sapien.
Yep. There he goes.
Nice.
It's Scott again. You're killing it.
Sweeping away.
I also like my superhero movies.
Yeah. All right, this is a 1996 movie. The name of the movie is the name of the character. And this character is portrayed by Pamela Anderson Lee. Their alter
Barbed Wire.
Barbed wire. Damn it. Barbed wire. I had to, barbed wire. Scott, you can take this. You're sweeping away.
Wait, how do you say it?
Okay.
Barbed wire.
Barbarella.
Barbed wire.
No,
that's a different character.
It's just Barb Wire. She's Barbara Kopetsky.
Wait, what movie is this from?
Barb Wire.
Barbed wire. Yeah.
Listen to this description, the plot. In 2017, because this is 96, in 2017, during the Second American Civil War, Barbed Wire owns the Hammerhead, a nightclub in Steel Harbor, the quote-unquote last free city in the United States ravaged by the war. This sounds incredible. I'm going to write this down for
I'm pretty sure it's like Mad Max in Pamela Anderson's zone. I'm pretty sure. Like, I had a promotional sticker.
For movie night, honestly.
Yeah, for Mondays. This is a good one, actually.
I'm putting this on my watch list.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Next up. This is a 2000 film. The name of the character, Love of the Damned. And this character is portrayed by Mark Frost. No, not that Mark Frost. Some other guy named Mark Frost. I'll go ahead and start reading some of the description. These last couple, we'll see if people know these. Arriving to a crime scene, Officer Dan Margolis, portrayed by Jeffrey Combs, investigates a brutal scene of several mutilated bodies. He is attacked by an assailant wearing metal gauntlets with long claw-like blades. The assassin almost kills Margolis, but stops after seeing a woman in the shadows. I'll give some hints. I'm going to skip around here. Any guesses?
No,
nothing.
I can see the VHS cover, and I think it starts with an F.
The director, it's directed by Brian Yuzna, close personal friend. Brian Yuzna, who I have literally actually shared a beer with. He's not a close personal friend though. All right, here's a little more hint to it. Maybe this will help you guys out. The assailant reveals his name to be John Jaspers. That's the secret entity. John sold his soul to the mysterious M, Mephistopheles, in order to avenge the death of his girlfriend. Is that?
That sounds familiar, and I can't think of it. The M. As soon as you said that, now I'm thinking of something. But I don't know enough. Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I think I'm stumped.
Yeah.
You're really close, Daniel. It's Faust.
Is it an F?
Faust. Oh, fuck, of course.
All right. So
my brain said Frank, and I was like, "There's no way that it's just called Frank, Love of the Damned."
That'd be incredible, though.
That'd be amazing. I want to watch that movie right now.
I'd watch the hell out of that. Yeah.
All right,
Frank,
this next one, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points we can get from this one, because the name of the movie is Mystery Men from 1999. And if you can name Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Ben Stiller, Jeffrey Rush, Janine Garofalo, Kel Mitchell, Paul Rubens, rest in peace, Greg Kinnear, or Wes Studi's characters, you get 1 point for each of those.
I know Ben Stiller was Mr. Furious.
Yep, correct.
And I believe William H. Macy was the Shoveler.
Yep.
And then Hank Azaria, I know he had the forks, but that's like
he had a magician's name.
Yeah.
Here, I'll read you. I'll read you Hank Azaria as Jeffrey, an amateur superhero who throws cutlery with great accuracy.
Was Janine Garofalo like the bowler or something like that?
She was indeed the bowler.
I don't remember his name, but Kel goes. He could turn invisible because he doesn't need to take off all his clothes.
But only when no one's looking at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel. It's almost like you could maybe make him guess at a name.
Like Invisible Man. Invisible
Boy.
Scott got it.
Is it actually Invisible Boy? Oh my god.
Boy. I was confident I owned this round.
We still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 possible points here.
Who are the other? We haven't guessed Greg Kinnear's.
You haven't guessed Greg. Here, I'll read their their description other than their names. Hank Azaria, I already read that one. There's Jeffrey Rush as the bad guy, a criminal genius. Yep. This is his name, but it's a very superhero-y name. Paul Rubens as blank, an amateur superhero whose flatulence makes others faint. Greg Kinnear as Lance Hunt, aka blank, Champion City's local superhero as well as billionaire lawyer. And Wes Studi as blank, a mysterious superhero who can use his mind to cut firearms in half. I don't remember that, but
I don't either.
God, no, I don't know if I remember any other. Like, I know all their powers. Yeah, I remember Paul Rubens was like the fire,
and he has a goofy voice, but I don't remember his name. He says it at one point.
And I remember that, Greg Kinnear is sort of like the Superman of the universe. Like Mr. Amazing,
Captain Fantastic. That's a Viggo Mortensen movie.
I remember, weren't they all in a Smash Mouth video?
Yeah.
All-Star.
All-Star. That was the main video, right?
It's people think it's from Shrek, but it's originally from
Mystery Man.
Yeah, there's like a cut of the music video where it's just scenes from the movie too.
And isn't like Dane Cook in it as well? Like he
does. Yeah. He plays in one scene.
Oh, I remember his name. He's the waffler.
I'll give you the point for that. Honestly, I'm gonna give you.
He has the waffle iron.
If you can, right. I mean, if you can guess other names of characters in this movie, because Doug Jones is apparently also in this movie.
There's just like the part where they have the tryouts.
Yeah, they have a tryout and they have a bunch of jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you guys?
I don't even remember. You said who was the bad guy?
Jeffrey Rush.
Man, I don't even remember him in the movie.
He kidnaps.
Been so long.
I remember he kidnaps the Greg Kinnear character. No, he gets out of jail. That's it. That's the whole storyline. Is that Greg Kinnear's character is bored and he's like that billionaire lawyer, so he gets Jeffrey Rush's character parole because he's looking for a challenge.
Yeah. And then doesn't Greg Kinnear get disintegrated in the first 5 minutes or something?
No, at the end.
Oh, really?
They when the heroes come to rescue him, but they accidentally kill him.
That's what it was. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna say the names of the characters unless people have any last guesses. Hank Azaria was Blue Raja. Jeffrey Rush is Casanova Frankenstein, which is an incredible name. Paul Rubens was Spleen. Greg Kinnear, it was so funny. You said Mr. Amazing and then Captain Fantastic. His name is Captain Amazing. And then Wes Studi is the Sphinx.
The Sphinx.
Okay. All right. We got 2 more, but this penultimate one, there's actually, once again, there's actually 2 points involved. For some reason, Wikipedia's not opening. What the fuck? All right, that was weird. It's a 1966 film. The name of the film is the 2 characters' names separated by the letter A. And what was, I think, deemed a typo, because it was supposed to be blank and blank, but they fucked up the title, so it's blank blank. And it's Ron Haydock as Lonnie Lord, one of the characters, and Titus Mode as Titus Twimbley, the other character.
1966?
I'll say this, it's a famous movie title. It's in my mind, it's a famous, maybe that's just a me thing. But
wait, what year did Adam West's Batman movie come out? Is that also 66?
It's not.
I think
Batman.
I think I'm defaulting to Batman.
Batman or Robin.
Yeah, Batman or Robin.
Oh, yeah.
After murdering an unarmed woman, the villainous chain gang targets C.B. Beaumont, the girlfriend of rock and roll star Lonnie Lord. The chain gang harasses, stalks, and eventually abducts Beaumont. In order to save his girlfriend, Lonnie takes on the identity of Blank, and his friend, Titus Twimbly, assumes the role of Blank's sidekick, Blank. On their rat cycle, the duo eventually manages to track down the chain gang. After a long chase and the resulting confrontation with the gang, Blank and Blank rescue Beaumont. However, Beaumont is abducted again, this time by Kogar the ape, a gorilla that has escaped from a local zoo. Kogar easily knocks out Blank, but his keeper soon comes and collects the ape. At the end of the film, Lorne performs for everyone at a parade held to honor the heroes. Any ideas?
No idea.
Yeah, no,
I have
I've
no
never
idea.
heard
No, but
this.
I want to watch it.
I want to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll write this one down
That's what
too.
I'm getting out of this.
The names of these characters are Rat Fink and Boo Boo from the movie Rat Fink a Boo Boo.
Is that really something that's that normal on your brain title?
I think about Rat
It
Fink.
It sounds like a
Genuinely
Yogi
asking.
Bear thing.
Rat Fink a
Right,
Boo Boo.
okay.
That's an incredible
Rat Fink a
title.
Boo Boo,
Have
yeah.
you thought about?
Yeah.
Have you thought about how good of a title Rat Fink a Boo Boo is?
I hadn't until this is the first origin of that. I think.
Rat Fink.
Yeah, I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever heard of this movie before.
Yeah, I hadn't.
All right, and then I got one more, but I don't think anyone's gonna be able to get this one because I never even heard of this one. I just found it, but just in case, this is a 1968 film by I'll elaborate here: expatriate American photographer and filmmaker William Klein, an anti-imperialist satirical farce. It concerns the exploits of the titular white nationalist superhero and his sidekick. This character is played by John Abbey. Any guesses?
Is that a Song of Freedom? Is that what this one is about? Song of Freedom movie? I have no idea.
No, I have no
What it
clue.
could possibly
Yeah,
be.
yeah, you could give me.
Like
Was
anything,
it-
I could just
yeah,
say words.
Little hint.
Yeah.
I have no idea. You know what? I have no idea how I would give hints for this one. I think unless
What even
you
is?
what
Yeah, I think what is it at this point?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, what
I
is
would
it?
have no
Yeah.
idea.
you know
Literally,
what, Brian?
if you
I'm going to
descriptive
give you a
to
half point because you actually got really close to it. The name of this character is Mr. Freedom, and you said Sound of Freedom.
Oh,
Oh,
I've
no
seen
shit.
that movie.
Yeah,
It's
And-
like kind of like an
That's funny.
exploitation film.
yeah. It's yeah. I think so. It looks nuts. I'll write this one down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. There's like one of the bad guys is. Did you already say this? Inflatable. It's called like the inflatable red Chinaman.
I think. Let me see.
It's kind of crazy. It's like out of control.
That might be something else. I'm not seeing that here.
I'm looking up Mr. Freedom. Wait, what year was this one from? 68?
Yeah.
I won't say anymore. Add Mr. Freedom to your list.
Is it William Klein? Is that the name of the
Yeah.
director? Okay. Well, I gotta check it out then.
It's a fun one. I think it's on the Criterion channel actually.
Cool.
So, I mean, this is kind of obvious. Brian, you get the bronze. Daniel gets a silver, but Scott, you got the gold, baby, on this one. You fucking swept today.
You did. You swept up hard.
And so, congratulations. You
Hold on.
have fucked up Daniel's GPA. He had a gold, and now he has a gold and silver. So now the only Ashley, who was on our first episode and got a gold and hasn't appeared yet, has the best GPA.
I'm going for perfect in my range of just constant bronze.
Yeah.
Is gonna be what I'm doing.
Well, technically, the first time you didn't get a medal, so you're technically your overall score. I don't.
So you're taking away my last place medal that I kind of could have wanted. You're like.
Well, somebody else got bronze that episode.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you lose. You don't even get a 2.0. You're below.
I don't get my participation trophy.
Technically, I mean, I can do the math on this, right? It's three is all gold, 2 is all silver, 1 is all bronze, 0 is nothing. I will say, Brian, you're at a 0.5 right now. So 2 appearances, bronze and nothing. Scott's at a 2 point. Scott and Daniel are at 2.5s.
Oh man,
so it's not going to get me a scholarship.
Smart guys.
But yeah. Let me.
Since you lost, Brian, you have to watch The Flash again.
Again.
Again, yeah.
You haven't seen it twice.
I didn't. No, I watched it. I very, very happily pirated the fuck out of that movie, and what a nightmare.
Edwin's not here to do his segment. Edwin's cool stuff.
Oh.
Does anybody have cool memorabilia related? I've got. They gave us this at the AMC we saw it at. I got 2 mine. Of them actually. We got them.
Daniel doesn't have one though.
I have a Vidiot sticker.
Nice. Well, yeah. Let's just go ahead and wrap up. Anything else? You got any plug socials, things you want to shout out? Any little things? I was gonna say. I just caught up on this comic. I'm using this mostly just shout out comics I'm reading lately. Love Everlasting, written by Tom King, with really beautiful retro art. It's about this woman, Joan Peterson, who's sort of Twilight Zone, is like stuck in a repeating loop of endless romances where every time she falls in love with someone, it's all like stereotypical romance novel stories, and every time she professes her love, this guy dressed up as a cowboy shows up and kills her. And then it just keeps happening again and again and again and again. And the second arc especially is really great. I don't want to say too much about it, but they really they linger on it. Like the first arc, they kind of like go through a lot of cycles, and then the second arc is like one giant cycle where you actually see her relationship with the people in this like weird sub-reality that she's in or something. They haven't gone too far into it, and it's kind of devastating, honestly. Like the most recent arc is really really intense and kind of sad, but in a really cool way. So yeah, Love Everlasting, check that out. Anybody else got any plugs?
All I'm doing is playing Baldur's Gate 3 when I have spare time. I love Baldur's Gate 3, and then I bought and have not played because it just came out, or it comes out in 20 minutes, Armored Core 6.
Nice. Yeah, I thought I would maybe like Baldur's Gate 3, and then I watched 2 seconds of gameplay and saw the UI, and I was like, I'm good, actually.
Honestly, it would be a great introduction for people interested in D&D because it uses the 5e rulebook and has like dice rolls and stuff.
Oh, nice.
And learning the mechanics of D&D through that would probably make for faster sessions in person, which is kind of nice.
That makes me more interested.
It's honestly, I think it's probably my game of the year. It takes a little bit to get adjusted because it's a different type of thing, but it rules.
Keeping on our superhero theme, I got a couple of Grant Morrison books from my local comic book shop. I got
Hell
Batman
yeah.
Robin.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna dab for that one. That's one of my favorite comic books ever. That's the one. I don't want to take it away from you if you want to explain what the gist of that one is.
You know what? I'm not terribly familiar with it. James Gunn kind of marketed that one so as being what his new Batman is. So why don't you take it? I'd love to hear your
Well, so this for reasons that are complicated and comic booky. When that Batman and Robin came out, Bruce Wayne got sent back in time, and that's Dick Grayson on the cover as Batman. Yeah. The original Robin, and that's Damian Wayne taking over Robin. For the first time, Damian Wayne, the son of Talia al Ghul, grandson of Ra's al Ghul, raised by the League of Assassins, so not a well-adjusted young man. And so it's Grant Morrison. To me, Grant Morrison's one of the best comic book writers, like when it comes to superhero stuff, because he's able to both embody the like hopefulness of the Silver Age and like the fun of that, but the sort of more like understanding of like the way stories and like the criticism of superhero stuff of the modern age. And that run is just so fun, if anything, just because of the like weird switch dynamic where it's a really nice Batman and a really kind of mean, shitty, grumpy Robin, which is just a fun thing to play with. Yeah.
And the other one I got was his
classic All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman. Wow.
Lovely cover. Both of those covers.
One of the best.
Yeah.
I know. Gunn is gunning for that. No pun intended, for Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
Superman Legacy is gonna A, be great, and B, make me cry a billion times.
If he can hit it the way I think he can, it could be a pretty phenomenal movie. I'm really looking forward to it. So
yeah, same. But yeah, does anybody have anything else, or am I?
I got this. Oh, shit. I'm not sure how to show it. It's not what I guess you have to do it that way.
No,
you
had it. You had it
close to your body.
It's a red. It's just a red cover, though. Unfortunately, it doesn't really.
That's
the Infinity Pool. This is I just got it in the other day. It's like crazy, like translucent vinyl. Like they made like 500 copies of it.
It looks sick.
It's like a wild.
Oh, that
looks amazing.
Tim Hecker did such an amazing job in that score, so I'm very excited to get into it.
That looks great, dude.
Hell yeah, stoked on
it. I bought they've been out of print for a long time, but I snagged the Silent Hill 1 and 2 soundtracks from Mondo.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Which I love.
That's what it was. I got this from Mondo, and I didn't want to say it because I kind of hate supporting Mondo right now.
I want to support their. Yeah, they're making some dumb decisions.
I got to figure out.
I'm hoping all this stuff has been. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I almost. It was funny. I was was texting someone the other night about how excited I am about. There's the new big expansions for Marvel Champions is coming out this week, and then I'm like, nobody.
Oh, nice.
Nobody. So they're doing they did last wave was an X-Men wave, so they're doing an X-Force wave this time, and it's Cable and Domino are coming with the box, and they got some cool mechanics. I'm excited. I could explain the mechanics, but I don't think anyone wants to hear that. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to Brian Robert, who's here, for composing our outro theme. I want to say I started a social media, CinemaCurse666 on Instagram and TikTok, where I'm posting little clips. I want to make a Jigsaw fan edit, and I also want to make a specifically FBI Detective Strom fan edit from the Saw series. And I'm going to be posting those there for sure. I want to use maybe that Ice Spice song that everyone really likes. So I'm excited about that. So you should check those out. We have an email, cinemacurse@gmail.com, if you have comments about whatever we're talking about. And next week, it's finally happening. The Haunted Mansion special, the movie. Haunted Mansion fever keeps moving through the country. And remember, if you have Haunted Mansion fever, please seek medical professional help as soon as you possibly can. We can beat this thing. It's just 15 days to stop the spread, and then we'll be good. But for real, next week we're doing, and I'm excited about this. With Brian and Scott, and Daniel's been there before. I've been doing a movie night for the last couple of years, and I think every couple months for Cinema Curse we're going to do a Monday night movie night roundup. And next week we're going to talk about just what we've been watching, but specifically we're gonna talk about probably the most notable movie we've watched of the last 6 months, Love on a Leash, which was a real sort of moment. Daniel, you should watch Love on a Leash. It's on YouTube. It's fucking.
It's quite the picture.
It's wild.
As Edwin would say.
And then we're also going to talk. I'm going to have Alex, Ann, and Paul on, who have all seen it. We're going to talk about the new Neil Breen film, Cade: The Tortured Crossing. And so I'm excited about that breaking news. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope everyone has a good week. Bye bye. Goodbye, citizens.
Bye.
Let's run this outro. Bye bye.